I think it's fair to say that the majority of players don't really interact with group content anymore, which is weird because we're playing an MMORPG. Whether it's because of toxicity, high requirements, or the content being irrelevant to today's meta, like pest control or castle wars, we just don't do it anymore. But is it Jagex's fault, the communities, or has gaming simply changed? Well, let's talk about it. Yo, what's going on guys? My name's Chevalric and today we're going to be talking about group content in RuneScape and why people are not really interacting with it anymore, or at least don't like interacting with group content overall, because it is very interesting. We're playing a massively multiplayer online role-playing game and no one is playing massively multiplayer online because majority of players are just either playing solo or with like one or two friends, and there's actually good reasons for it and we're going to be discussing it in this video. So first things first, I think it's interesting to start with the player themselves. Why does the individual not want to interact with other people on an MMORPG? Are you playing the wrong game, or have we just kind of changed? Because I think it's actually the latter. I made a video in the past talking about why we're not sociable in RuneScape anymore, and no one is really interacting with other people anymore. If you didn't see it, TLDW, too lazy didn't watch, pretty much. We now have so many different avenues of interacting with people, whether that's Twitter, Discord, Reddit, WhatsApp, Skype, I don't know, MSN, Hives if you're Dutch. No, I'm joking, but like there's so many avenues to interact with people, right? And there's no real reason to use RuneScape for that anymore. RuneScape used to be my social media when I was young, because I didn't have social medias. They weren't really a thing back in the day. At least as I said, I didn't interact with them, and I talked to my friends on RuneScape and also in public chat when we're in the same world, and then if I saw someone say something or join in a discussion, I would just, talk to them as well and then add them up on my friends list. I think we all did that, and that has changed over the years, and I think one of the reasons is because, well, the social medias, but also we have grown up. We're not really looking around to make new friends anymore. You usually have established friend groups already. I mean, look at just in general, like you're in your 20s, 30s. Shout out to the person that was like 56 commenting on my video last time when I mentioned everyone is in their 20s playing this game. Shout out to you. You're an absolute legend. But we're all older, and if you even see with your social interactions, like as a kid you probably had like 20 or 30 friends, but now you might only have like 5 or 10 friends that you like really hang out with and really chill with and really vibe with. We just change it. That's like a normal human interaction or human growth kind of. And that goes with RuneScape as well. Like, we're probably not really interested in meeting randoms online. And some people are, but I think the majorities are not. And it can be exhausting as well, especially after a long day of work or uni or whatever you're doing. You don't want to be talking to some strangers because, let's be honest, when you're meeting someone new, you can't really fully be yourself. You kind of have to test the waters first to see what kind of jokes you can make, or if certain things you do might be weird to people, or like, I don't know, I make weird noises. I mean, if you see my Twitch streams, you know what kind of weird noises I make. Link in the description, by the way, stream every single day, but you know how weird I am. I mean, I can't be that around all people. Obviously, I am that on stream, but still, like, to give you an example from my own, like, obviously on stream, you kind of just have to, I'm not saying I'm different, but there are obviously certain things you cannot do or say on stream. I'm not saying that in my private life I'm outrageously racist or something, but the thing is, like, there are certain things that you cannot say, like, I don't know, I have a small one or something, because that can be taken out of context and people be like, oh no, like they can use it against you or something. At the end of the stream, I'm usually quite exhausted because, I'm not saying I have to put up a front, but, you're actively thinking about the things you're saying, and that happens when you interact with new people as well. And obviously on stream, you always interact with new people in a way. But that is just normal human psychology. But going back to the group posting part, I think another big reason why people don't like it is toxicity. And I do agree that a lot of endgame PVMers and groups that want to teach people, I don't think they really want to, but they kind of have to because otherwise they don't have people to play with, are usually toxic, or at least elite to a certain extent, where it's like, oh, you need these requirements to be able to join us. And on one hand, I first of all want to say that doesn't go for all the groups. I know that not all endgame PVMers, I know that not all like high tier PVM groups, whatever, are toxic. A good example is the Dutch Phoenix clan. They do and host learner hours every single week for people to learn AOD, Forago, and all the other group bosses. And they're really lovely. That's why I learned my Croesus, and they really gave me the time, explained it to me, and I could ask as many questions as I wanted, even if they were like repeat questions, and they really helped me, so shout out to them. And I know that there are more communities like that on RuneScape. However, it is true that a lot of posts you see online are about toxic interactions with these groups and them having way too high of requirements or skill levels. And on one hand, that's very understandable, because let's be honest, you don't want to be taking someone in subjugation to Solak. That is like a fair thing to say, like at least have tier 90 gear. However, there's also like a lot of people that teach that really expect you to be some pro PVMer. I know that these bosses are difficult, but probably with like a group of friends, you could probably get some very inefficient kills. I feel like a lot of these bigger groups really want to go for efficient kills whilst bringing someone new and teaching them how to do it efficiently. And I'm more of the mindset of just teach them how to kill the boss, and efficiently will come over time. I mean, that's how I learn my bosses. I scuff them, and then over time I'm like, okay, I add this in, okay, I add this trick in, and this, and this, and this. And before I know, I shaved off like 2 minutes of my boss kill timers, right? And I feel like you don't really get that space in groups as well. And I think that is an issue, and that is something on the groups, and that is something that keeps people away. And I think RuneScape needs to move on from group content. And I know that sounds weird, but here's the thing. As a game developer, but even if you're not a game developer, think about the job you're doing. You want as many people to interact with your product as possible. You want to help as many people as possible. If you're a social worker like myself, or psychologist, or whatever. If you are a salesman, you want as many people to see your product and buy your product. And with a game developer is you make this piece of content and you want as many people to interact with it. It goes with the new skill as well. They even plain out said it, like, we make the skill and we don't want it to be locked for people that don't have like the elite skill requirements, like how they did with Invention. They want everyone to be able to log in and to be like, yo, new skill, I'm going to check that out, this is cool, whatever. Not just because of monetary wise, because a lot of people will think like, oh yeah, it's just because of the money. No, like if you make something amazing, don't you want as many people to see it and give feedback on it? Like, I want as many people to see my video as possible, not because it will give me money, but because I want to share this passion that I have for this game and my ideas with as many people as I want and as possible. It goes for game developers as well. And that goes into group content. Group content overall, whether you like it or not, is a lot less popular for whatever reason that is, toxicity, not wanting to interact with people, whatever, than non-group content, right? And that doesn't just go for bossing content, that even just goes for skilling content, minigame content, whatever. And you could say that's because of the rewards, but it could also just be of the way group content just functions within RuneScape, right? Because look at the Wilderness Flash events, for example. The majority of players are probably doing this to either get the completionist requirement or the trimmed completionist requirement. In the first few weeks, you had a buttload of people interacting with the content. And I'm not saying it's completely dead right now, but it's a lot less lively than it used to be. And usually how it goes with these types of content where, you know, it's actually fully group related, that's not PVM, you can usually finish that content in a way, whether that's unlocking the reward shop, unlocking, I don't know, the music tracks or whatever. And pretty much what it comes down to is the people just that need to finish it, whether that's for comp or just because they want to or it has a good update, will do it in the first couple of weeks. And then, you know, 4 months or 6 months down the line, there's just not enough people to do the content anymore. And that is something I feel like RuneScape is, you know, it's causing it itself. For example, look at old school RuneScape. They have something like Wintertot, which is this huge mass thing, but then again, it is also one of the best trading methods, so it will always be relevant because people will be doing it not just for the loot you can get from it, but also to get the experience. And I think RuneScape 3 does a very poor job with that when it comes to, like, I think factually Croesus is a better skilling boss than any of the old school RuneScape ones is. However, because the old school skilling bosses are either really good money makers and very accessible, and you know, it doesn't really matter if you don't pull your weight. Like Volcano, for example, the experience is not great, but the money is really good. Or Winterthought, the money isn't incredible, but the experience is really good. Also, RuneScape 3 doesn't really have that, so whether it's like, I see them more as like skilling methods, at least Winterthought I see more skilling method, like there's always a reason to do them, right? And RuneScape 3 is slacking on that point, in my personal opinion. So, should they make such content? I think so. However, I also think scalability could really fix this issue. If you don't know what scalability is, it's pretty much the less people you play the boss with, the less health it has, and still the same mechanics, but pretty much the more people, the more health and whatever. The only issue is in RuneScape, they don't really do scalability well, because there's always like an ideal group size, and I feel like that's something you will always retain in a way. Like, I don't think there's like a perfect scalability. Maybe there is. If there is, let me know in the comment section down below. But scalability, I think, could really fix it. And they have scaled Solek now. They've scaled Virago, I believe. And I really hope they're going to scale Angel of Death. They scaled it to solo. I think duo is more than enough, because Jagex actually did a poll, which I'll put in the description down below, where they asked people what the ideal group size is. And the poll showed it's 1 to 3 people, like Elite Dungeons. So Elite Dungeons pretty much is the pinnacle of content. That is like how they should do content. And I do agree with it, because whether you do it solo, duo, or trio, it's very rewarding and it's very fun to do. And it scales accordingly to those group sizes and the speed you can do them in, or how many runs you can do an hour, whatever you want to, like, however you want to look at it, and whichever Elite Dungeon it is, of course, because they have different scalabilities. However, it always used to be that you got punished drop rate wise when you did it with more people, because the chance would be too high. And I feel like that shouldn't be the case. I feel like if you're with more people, I feel like you should be getting a higher drop chance, because you need to split it 3 ways. I know there's more items coming in the game that way, but then again, you'll make less money per individual that way, if that makes any sense. So if it's like 1 in 50 solo, it should be 1 in 100 duo, like 1 in 50 per person, so 1 in 100 total. And for trio, it should be 1 in 150. And that way, I feel like it's equally scaled. At least that's in my mind how it works. There's probably some factors to that where it doesn't work, but you get what I mean? Like, because in theory, you should be able to do a boss 3 times as quick with 3 people. If there's no scalability in like health or whatever, in like health mechanics or whatever. If there is, you obviously need to do it in a different way and, you know, balance it out a little bit more, like 50, 65, and 70, for example. I don't know. I'm just saying something. I'm no scaler in a game or something. But that's what I'm trying to say. Like, scalability, I feel like will fix it. Because then the people who want to group can group, but won't get punished for it, obviously if it's done well. And people who are solo players will also not get punished for doing it solo, and can always choose to group up with a friend or multiple friends or whatever. But what I'm trying to say is group content is just something that is just different nowadays. We don't like it anymore as we used to. And it's also because we don't play the game for fun anymore, which sucks, but it's just the reality of it, right? Times change, people change, games change. That goes for RuneScape as well. Group content is something that is simply just not really that relevant in RuneScape anymore. And Jagex shouldn't really be focusing on it anymore, unless they can make it like really relevant, like, as I said, Winterthought, like the best training method, or something like a good moneymaker that everyone can access, where there's not really a steep learning curve, and it's just kind of like a mini game-esque thing, but it's always really worth doing. And yet again, scalability can fix a lot in my mind. But let me know in the comment section down below what your opinion is on this entire matter. Subscribe if you're new. Still trying to get as close to 2K subscribers as possible. As I said, you're an absolute legend if you got to this point in the video. Like the video. See you guys in the next one.